Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to have you here, and I'm so excited to be here and to finally start my pregnancy series. Yes, I am pregnant, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about how I knew I was pregnant before taking my pregnancy test. Now, this is my second pregnancy. With my first pregnancy, I did miscarry around 7 weeks. You would know this if you saw my first episode of my pregnancy series, which is me finding out that I was pregnant. If you didn't see it, I will leave it up here in the cards or in the description box down below, and you can go check that out. That will fill a lot of the missing pieces in this video. I'm currently still in the first trimester, so I had this burst of energy today, which alhamdulillah, all the other days I've been feeling very tired. The fatigue is really hitting me hard, and so I just thought, since I do have the energy today, let me pull out the camera and film this video before I get like super tired again. So I will be sharing my personal experience of how I knew that I was pregnant, both the first pregnancy and with the second one, because I actually knew more certainly the first time around than in this pregnancy. But if you are new here and you clicked on this video, I know why you're watching this video. Either number one, you just enjoy content like this and it's just interesting to you and you find it super fun, which I get you. I was watching these videos way before I was thinking about being pregnant. Or number two, you think you might be pregnant and you really hoping that you are, and so you're in that 2-week wait where you are symptom spotting and you just want to feel heard and seen by looking at other people's experiences and maybe thinking, oh, I might be pregnant. Number three, you're thinking you're pregnant and that actually makes you nervous or scared, which I totally get as well. I've been in both situations, wanting so badly to be pregnant and then also being so nervous about being pregnant. So either way, I welcome you to this video and I welcome you to my channel. My name is Taskeen. If you're new here, I make videos about lifestyle and intentional living. So if that sounds like something that you are interested in, go and hit the subscribe button down below. And since I'm finally doing my pregnancy series, I'm so excited to share so much more pregnancy related content with you guys. Obviously, I will also refer back to my normal lifestyle content as well for my original subscribers, so don't go anywhere. But also, if you are interested in my pregnancy journey, do subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss an upload from me. I've been wanting to be pregnant for a really long time now, and so I've been on the trying to conceive journey for quite a while. So much so that I do feel quite confident about knowing when I'm pregnant versus when I'm not pregnant. And I'm not saying that my method of calculating whether I'm pregnant or not is completely 100% accurate for everyone. This is my personal experience. However, this is going to be a sciencey type interesting video full of facts and amazing things that the female body can do. Subhanallah, Allah created our bodies so perfectly. So I do think that I have a method to share with you guys for evaluating whether you are pregnant or not. And then I'll obviously apply that to my situation specifically so that you can just get a little bit of my experience, but also the science side of things. Short disclaimer, I'm not a specialist, a fertility specialist, I'm not a doctor or any of that sort. I just did a lot of research and I'm just very interested in the science behind things. And disclaimer number two is that every pregnancy is different. Every body responds to pregnancy in a different way. And so if you are really hoping to be pregnant and you experience none of the symptoms I'm talking about, that is totally okay. That doesn't mean that you're not pregnant. It doesn't mean that you are pregnant. During this 2-week wait, it can be a little nerve-wracking and also frustrating, wanting to know so badly if you conceive this month. My heart goes out to you, and my tip for you is to just try and focus on preparing your body for pregnancy and manifesting that. Even if this is not your month where you fall pregnant, next month might be your month. And so do the things that make your body feel good. Work out if you need to work out, eat healthy, take your prenatals, meditate a lot, things like that. Have a bath just to try and relax and try and prepare your body for pregnancy, because it will be your time soon. Okay, with that, let's just hop into the video. So how do you know if you are pregnant or not? Let's look at the science behind this first. Now, like I said, everybody's different and every pregnancy is different. So in order to figure out whether you are pregnant or not, I want you to really tune into your body and into your cycle. In the beginning of my TTC journey, I didn't really track my cycle regularly, which I understand if this is just the beginning of your journey. I understand you might not be tracking your cycle, but at some point, if you don't conceive month after month, start by tracking your cycle. Track when you get your period and track the length of your cycle so that you can figure out around about when you might be ovulating. Ovulating happens around the middle of the month where your body releases an egg. So starting off with tracking your cycle, I'm just going to give you a quick basic rundown on how the menstrual cycle works, right? The first day of your cycle is the first day of your period. So that is day 1, and normal cycles last between 28 to 35 days. Now some women might have cycles that are shorter than this and some might have longer. This doesn't necessarily mean that there's something wrong with your cycle, and it also doesn't necessarily mean that you're not ovulating. Do track your cycle for a few months. If it is irregular month to month, check in with your doctor if that is something that you would like to look into. But my advice would be to not stress about it too much, because stress is the main factor or cause that could dysregulate your cycle. However, regardless of the length of your cycle, you usually ovulate 14 days before your next period. Now let's say you have a 28-day cycle. 14 days subtracted from 28 is 14, so it is most likely that you are ovulating around day 14. Again, this is different from person to person, so this will depend on the tracking of your cycle personally. For me, before I went on the contraceptive pill, I had a 30-day cycle, so I would normally ovulate around day 16 or 15, 17 sometimes, but then my cycle length would obviously differ according to my ovulation day. In my mind, I was on the triphasal contraceptive pill, and so when I came off that pill, statistically 75% of women should be able to fall pregnant within the first 3 months of coming off the pill, but then 90% of women should be able to conceive within the first 6 months of coming off the pill. The first 3 months I was very loosey-goosey. I just typed into my app, my Flow app, when I got my period, just to see if my cycle was regular in the first place. And for those first 3 months it was pretty regular, about 30 days long, but I don't think I actually ovulated any time in those 3 months. In the following 3 months, my cycle started to become a bit long. I started having 40-day cycles. I started to worry just a little bit, because now I wasn't sure if I was even ovulating or when I was ovulating. And in my mind, I told myself that I'm not going to get too pedantic about tracking my cycle until I reach 6 months and I still haven't conceived. So by month 7, that is when I started tracking my temperature to figure out if I was even ovulating in the first place. So this is where the science comes in, and this was the main reason how I knew I was pregnant. So when you track your basal body temperature, you basically just take your temperature first thing in the morning, as soon as you wake up, before you even get out of bed, before you talk, before you kiss your husband, before you walk, anything, immediately take your temperature, and that will give you your basal body temperature. And in your follicular phase, which is from the first day of your cycle up until your fertile window, which is maybe a day before your ovulation day, your temperatures tend to average around the lower end of the spectrum, around 36.2 to 36.4 degrees Celsius. Now when I talk about the temperatures, I'm literally talking about a difference of 0.something degrees Celsius. So in that first phase of your cycle, generally you have lower temperatures, and around when you ovulate, you should see a drastic dip in your temperature. So maybe you are at averaging 36.4 and suddenly you go to 36.1 degrees Celsius. So literally 0.something degrees of a difference. But then as soon as you see that drop in temperature, you see that your temperature skyrockets. So it kind of forms a little thick shape. It drops and then it rises immediately. And that rise in temperature is basically the day that you ovulate. So your drop in temperature would happen the day before you ovulate, and your boost up would happen on your ovulation day. To know for sure that you've ovulated that month, your temperature should then, after your spike, start to average on the higher end, around 36.5 to 36.7 degrees Celsius. So you'll see quite a split in your temperatures. From the lower end of your follicular phase, you'll have a beautiful drop and a beautiful spike of ovulation, and then you'll have higher temperatures in your luteal phase. Now, this type of pattern of temperatures in a woman's menstrual cycle is called a diphasic temperature chart, and this is when it gets really interesting. After you've ovulated and you did your little baby dance, it is possible for your egg to fertilize and get implanted into the uterus. Now, implantation for most women takes place about 8 to 10 days post-ovulation. However, it can happen as early as 6 days post-ovulation or as late as 12 days post-ovulation. 2 days after you implant, your HCG levels should rise to the point where you can pick it up on an at-home pregnancy test. For some women, not all women, you might see a triphasic chart. This is when you have another little dip in temperature, again just like you had with your ovulation dip. However, this dip is much smaller, and it is what we call an implantation dip. That's what happened with me, and I had a beautiful triphasic chart with my first pregnancy. So over here, around the 15th day of my cycle, I had a drastic drop in temperature, and then my temperature shot up on day 16. So I marked day 16 as my ovulation day. After that, my temperatures rose, and you can see that they stayed higher here in the second phase of my cycle. And then I had another beautiful dip there, which I considered my implantation dip. So I implanted on 6 days post-ovulation. So my implantation day was quite early that month. And so this is a nice way for you to figure out whether you are pregnant or not, scientifically wise, with your basal body temperature. However, not every pregnant woman has a triphasic chart. You could still be pregnant and not have seen that you have implanted on your temperature chart, but for me, I saw a beautiful implantation dip, and so that started to make me think that I could be pregnant. So with this pregnancy, I wasn't actually able to tell using my temperature because my temperature was completely random. I didn't have a regular cycle. So before I found out I was pregnant this time around, I did have a couple of months with no bleed. And so I started to get a bit frustrated, wondering when am I ever going to get my period, because I thought to myself, how am I going to be able to fall pregnant if I don't even get a period? But alhamdulillah, that wasn't the case. I did stop tracking my temperatures after a while because I didn't want to be thinking about it. I didn't want to stress about it. I thought that the stress factor was the reason why I wasn't getting a period, and just focus on building my body back up again, healing my body after the miscarriage, and possibly getting my period back. However, after a few weeks, when it was going into my 3rd month without a period, I decided to track my temperature again just to see maybe if my temperature was showing some sort of pattern. I tracked my temperature, and again, I thought I saw an implantation dip. So this was my temperature for this month. I use this app called Kindara on my phone that allows me to track my temperature, and also puts an alarm on for me when I should track my temperature. But I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but I saw this dip. So this is when I started tracking my temperature again. When I saw that dip, I thought it could be ovulation, but it could also be a tiny implantation dip, because the dip wasn't as drastic as what an ovulation dip would be. So I thought, okay, maybe I could be pregnant. But again, I put it out of my mind straight away, because at that point it was just so hard for me to believe that I could possibly be pregnant. But if you did not track your temperature, or if you're not the type to want to track your temperature, there are other ways, of course, that you can try and figure out if you are pregnant or not. And this is through symptoms. And the way I like to look at it is that specifically these are symptoms that you don't normally experience before you get your period. Now, I just want to say also that HCG only really starts to be produced in your body after you implant. So you can only really feel pregnancy symptoms that are caused by the HCG after you implant. So any symptoms that you might be feeling before your implantation day could possibly be ovulation symptoms. So this is where you really need to be in tune with your body and your cycle to figure out how you feel and the symptoms that you normally get around your ovulation day, because they are similar to symptoms that you might get before you get your period. And so once you are very aware of the types of symptoms that you normally feel every time you ovulate and every time you're about to get your period, it will be easier for you to distinguish symptoms that you don't normally feel. So with the symptoms that you normally experience before you get your period and when you ovulate, I want you to rule out those symptoms for pregnancy. They don't mean that you're pregnant. If I use myself for example, a typical symptom that a lot of women experience in early pregnancy is nausea. However, for me, I normally feel nauseous before I get my period and when I ovulate. So for me, when I feel nauseous, I don't think that I could possibly be pregnant because it is something that I normally feel. Another symptom I don't include as a pregnancy symptom is tender breasts, because that is something I always feel. Other symptoms of my regular PMS symptoms include cramping and bloating. Now, once you're super in tune with your body and your cycle, you might experience cramping that is distinctly different from your regular PMS cramping, for example. Then you might start to think, okay, maybe I'm pregnant. However, for some of us, we can experience very random and distinct symptoms that are completely different from what you normally feel in your menstrual cycle. So for me, one of the most convincing symptoms that I experienced before I found out that I was pregnant the first time around was a distinct sense of smell. And when I say a sensitivity to smell, I mean that I could be sitting here in my bedroom and Piper's bowl of cat food would be sitting in the front of the house and I'm currently at the back of the house, but I would be able to smell the food every time she goes to eat. Or there could be this candle and I could maybe put it over there, and from this distance the candle is not burning, but I would be able to smell the candle. So for me, this was completely new and something I'd never experienced before, and it was definitely something that I thought, wow, I really could be pregnant. Another very interesting symptom for me was the intense fatigue. I'm not a type of person that takes naps. Sorry, gassiness because I'm pregnant, you know. Starting to get out of breath. I'm not the type of person that normally takes daily naps or naps during the day in general, and I was so tired that I would regularly nap during the day. And when I say fatigue, I mean I felt tired even after getting a full night of quality sleep. So that was really weird for me. And this is what I mean about the distinction between PMS symptoms and pregnancy symptoms. If you normally feel tired and you normally take naps during the day, or you are tired because of something, because you maybe had a hectic day at work, or you were very active during the day and now you feel tired, that it could be just that you are tired and not that you are pregnant. But if you feel specifically that you're tired even though you did get sufficient rest, then I think that that could be a reason that you might be pregnant. Then I do want to mention the cramping of my first pregnancy, because the type of cramping that I had was very different to what I would normally get before my period. It was longer and more dull and more achy, and it continued, whereas if I was getting my period, then the cramping would come and then it would go. but with my pregnancy it was more like a dull ache that was constantly there. However, your symptoms might be completely different to mine. That is why I'm trying to make a point of being in touch with your body and your cycle specific to you. Lastly, this is pretty common for a lot of women, and they experience spotting or implantation bleeding without the coming of a period. So for me, I normally spot before I get my period, and so the spotting develops into a heavier flow. But this time in my first pregnancy, I experienced the spotting and I didn't get a heavier flow following that. And then symptoms wise with this pregnancy, I wasn't as certain as I was the first time around. And so this time around, I didn't see when I had ovulated, but I must have ovulated to be able to implant and now be pregnant, alhamdulillah. So after I saw that little dip in temperature this time around, I didn't immediately take a pregnancy test. I just continued tracking my temperature to see if it would stay on the higher end of the spectrum, and it did. And also after that implantation dip, that is when I started to experience symptoms such as breathlessness, which is something I still have to this day, which is very uncommon for me, completely something I'd never experienced before other than when I had COVID. This time when I started feeling breathless, that was a bit odd for me, and then also the fatigue came back even stronger than the last time. Then another symptom that I had this time around that I didn't have the last time was an increase in needing to go to the bathroom and needing to urinate. So I needed to pee quite often. I would wake up 3 or 4 times during the night to go to the bathroom. So my dip in temperature and then my temperature remaining on the higher end, as well as the combination of all these new symptoms that I was feeling, is what motivated me to take a pregnancy test again. Even though 3 weeks before that I had taken a blood test at the doctor's and it came back negative, I wanted to just make sure maybe I could possibly be pregnant. Maybe I ovulated without getting another period, ovulated and then immediately fell pregnant, and so that's when I took my pregnancy test, and now I'm pregnant. I hope that was not too TMI. I'm just trying to be as candid as possible for those of you out there who are wondering if you could be pregnant or not. I just think that the science behind how your temperature spikes when you ovulate and then maybe dips sometimes when you implant is so amazing, and it's just another proof of the miracle of what God can do. And so I just find it so beautiful and so amazing. And so I hope that this video was informative and beneficial to you, and if not beneficial, at least fun or interesting. So thank you so much for watching this video till the end. I don't know how long it turned out to be, but either way, I'm just so appreciative of you for being here with me. Remember to subscribe and give this video a like if you enjoyed it. It really will help me in the algorithm. And comment down below some of the symptoms that you experienced during early pregnancy. It's a super exciting time. And for those anxiously in their 2-week wait, I wish you all the love and luck. And I'm sending you a lot of baby dust. And I pray that your time comes soon and that God grants you a beautiful, healthy baby and healthy pregnancy soon. Ameen. I love you guys, and I'm so excited to share the rest of this pregnancy journey with you. Bye for now. Mwah.